I'm really excited. So New Japan, when I started wrestling, that's where I always wanted to be. Like when I envisioned myself as a professional wrestler, I didn't envision myself being a big star in the United States. What I really wanted to do was go over and be a big star in Japan. The idea of being able to go wrestle in Japan with the best wrestlers in the world in a wrestling style that I like most, that was really appealing to me. And I don't know what happened. There was some sort. I was training at the Inoki Dojo, and I was going regularly on tours. I went on like 8 tours in 2004 for New Japan, and me and Curryman had won the IWGP Junior Championships as tag team. And then all of a sudden, I just stopped getting booked, and it was really, really frustrating. And for a long time, I was like, what do I got to do to get back to New Japan? And here we are, almost 20 years later. I'm going to Wrestle Kingdom in the Tokyo Dome. Yeah, the Inoki Dojo, I first started training there in 2002. I was the first person to actually live in the dojo, sleeping on the floors and that sort of thing. The mentality was, and this was like directly kind of from Inoki, is that we treat professional wrestling like a sport. And you train legitimate combat sports, and you incorporate that into the wrestling that you do. And so we did a lot of jiu-jitsu, we did a lot of kickboxing. They brought in like boxing coaches, and we sparred with real pro boxers. And the mentality for us was, we've got to train our ass off if we want to live up to this idea that Antonio Inoki had for professional wrestling. The first time that we went to New Japan, like Inoki Dojo members, we went and actually we wrestled at the Tokyo Dome. I think it was August or October of 2002, and we had a match. It was the show right before the Tokyo Dome. It was in the Tokyo Dome, but there was a pachinko tournament going on. There was maybe a couple hundred people there, and we wrestled Jushin Liger and 2 other guys in a 6-man tag. And when we got back, the head coach of the Inoki Dojo slapped us all in the face. And he said, it's not that the match was bad, but that's not what you guys were trained to do. You guys went out there and you guys did standard professional wrestling. We want something better. And that was the ethics. That was the ethics that we had at the Inoki Dojo. We want something better. So I don't know. It's a different world, right? In the 1970s, 80s, 90s, there were a lot less things to do, a lot less distractions. It's hard for anybody to be the same megastars that the Rolling Stones were, right? It's hard when people say, okay, I want to be the next Bruno Sammartino here in the United States, to live up to that Antonio Inoki, being what Antonio Inoki was when he was. It's just nearly an impossible task. But what I applaud about that is setting for yourself an impossible task, because even if you fail, you still reach pretty high. So, fighting spirit, strong style, all of what that means to me is continuing to fight despite the adversity. And where I think I'm better at that than Okada is because he hasn't faced the adversity that I've faced, right? He came to New Japan, and when he came to New Japan after he went on excursion, they're like, look at him. He's tall, he's athletic, he gets catapulted right up to the main events. And he has the skill to do it, obviously. He has the skill to do it. He wouldn't be as successful as he is without the skill to do it. He didn't have to do the things that I had to do to succeed. And this idea of, okay, I've got the eye patch on right now. I fractured my orbital bone. Thanks Okada for that. This time around when I did this, it's great. I work for AEW, I've got medical care, all that kind of stuff. I fractured my orbital bone and detached my retina in 2007, and I didn't have shit. I had to do that all on my own. And I was back wrestling 3 weeks later, well before I should have been, because if I didn't make any money. So these are the things that have made me the wrestler I am today, that have made me the person that I am today, and they're the struggles, these kinds of struggles, the idea of not ever giving up and keeping, you always fight. You always fight. I think Okada has the same mentality, but he hasn't had to go through the same struggles that I have. And so when it comes to personifying what fighting spirit means or what strong style means, yeah, he does. But he doesn't do it the way that I do it. Yeah, I remember that night a lot. I wrestled Super Porky. It was in a 6-man tag, but it was not a one-on-one match with Super Porky. But yes, I got to wrestle the infamous Super Porky. You know, I was wrestling so many shows at the time. I legitimately flew in day of, got taken to the show, met my teammates, and I didn't see much of anybody. So it's funny when people say that, because I don't even remember. You know, it's an afterthought. It's like a neat little thing. What do they call those? What do they call those things in movies where it's like no, like it's like they're not meant to be seen by, yeah. It's like this little real life Easter egg where that you only look back on it and realize that was such a cool thing for me to be a part of, that I was there for Okada's first pro wrestling match. And guess what? At the time I didn't even care. So I just have to say this openly. And this is not trying to kiss up to New Japan or anything like that. I watched New Japan, and that's the style of wrestling I always wanted to do. Always. From the time I started wrestling, that's the style of wrestling that I wanted to do. So watching New Japan succeed, and watching them succeed first with Tanahashi, and they're building their fan base, and then when Tanahashi and Okada start their rivalry, and the fan base grows even larger, I loved it. And I was super impressed with Okada. And especially for somebody at such a young age, when he started in the main event scene of New Japan, to do so well against people like Tanahashi, against people like Minoru Suzuki, against Yuji Nagata, all those guys who I know firsthand are fantastic wrestlers. I was super impressed. But you get in the ring with him, and you realize that he's better than what you saw. And that brings out a fire inside of me to be better than I am on a normal day. And that's what Wrestle Kingdom's going to be. Because not only, when you're wrestling Okada, not only do you have to be better than you normally are, now there's a little bit, gosh, I hate to even say a little bit, there's a lot of resentment and a lot of borderline hatred. I hate to even use that word, because here I am, I'm in the twilight of my wrestling career, and Okada on his own has taken away over 3 months of that. In the last year of my full-time pro wrestling career, he's taken away 3 months! And when you want to talk about fighting spirit, and you want to talk about strong style, I don't know if there's a better example than breaking your arm and tapping out Okada on the same night when nobody's tapped out Okada since 2015. But then, after doing that, and because I wrestled for another 10 minutes with a broken arm, and because I fought through, I couldn't hold my son for 2 months. I still don't have full strength in my right arm because I did come back a little bit early, because I come back when people need me to come back. And then immediately after that, I get in the ring with Okada again. He hits me with the Rainmaker. 2 fractures in my orbital bone. My vision is blurry, and all of a sudden I can't drive with my kids. I can't drive my kids to school. You want to talk about what motivates me? Sometimes it's the fighting spirit that I feel when I'm in a wrestling ring, but a lot of what I do, my motivation is my kids. And Okada, I don't know why it's me. Maybe they were unintentional. Maybe they weren't. Maybe the orbital bone was trying to prove a point after I embarrassed him and tapped him out. But this is one thing. This is my goal in this match. It's not only, so this is something I've really been looking forward to. Wrestling in the Tokyo Dome, wrestling at Wrestle Kingdom. But my goal for this match is legitimately to break Okada's right arm. I have endured and fought through so many injuries. And do you know what I do when that happens? Do you know what I do? I've barely been able to use my right arm since I came back. I do all my strikes with my left arm. I don't pick people up, and I still win. I'm gonna break Okada's right arm. And we're gonna see how good he is. Because the true test of how good somebody is, you take away their best weapon, and then you see how good they are. You can take away any weapon from me. You can take away my arm, you can take away my eye, and I'm still better than 99.9% of the wrestlers on planet Earth. Okada, I'm gonna break your arm, take away your best weapon, and let's see if you're even in the top 50%. Okada, at Wrestle Kingdom, it's gonna be an eye for an eye and an arm for an arm. I'm breaking your right arm. I'm gonna stop you from using the Rainmaker. And we're gonna see if you're the next Antonio Inoki or if you're just another wannabe.
衝撃のギブアップ負けから半年。岡田和親、ブライアン・ダニエルソンと世紀の一戦第2ラウンド。ウィル・オスプレイ、ジョン・モクスリー、デビッド・フィンで波乱の三つどもえ戦。宿命のライバル対決、高橋宏夢 vs エル・デスペラード。覇者と王者ジュニアタッグの頂点は